yesterday around 10:30 or so when you received the news?
Around 10:30, I was actually on my way to Little Rock to a mayor's conference, and I was extremely ecstatic when I heard the news. And again, the news echoed what I had thought all the time, that this would be somewhat of a delay with Judge Griffin's decision, but I knew all the time that it would be resolved, and the medical marijuana would continue to move forward and allow the Bold Team LLC to come into Cotton Plant and help the city of Cotton Plant to prosper.
All right, now Mayor, what we want to talk a little bit about where Cotton Plant is today as far as economic development and industry. Let's talk a little bit about that. And then after that, go ahead and talk a little bit about where you see Cotton Plant a year from now or 2 years from now.
Well, the city of Cotton Plant economically is at ground zero. We basically have no industry here. We basically don't have any basic functions like a bank, a grocery store, or anything like that. But I feel like with the medical marijuana coming to Cotton Plant, I feel like it's going to make a difference over the next few years. This is a turning point for this community. And I think over the next year, we're going to see a lot of scrambling around, and I think with the medical marijuana facility being built, we'll kind of set the pace for everything else. But I see a lot of conversations being held, people buying property, and people just trying to get in wherever they fit in, more or less. And for the most part, I think we're going to see a lot of change over the next year. You'll see a lot on paper, but you won't see a lot of visuals other than the actual plant itself. But I think over the next 5 years, I think we'll see a gas station, we'll see a bank, we'll see other industries like the Dollar General. I just believe that because we're having conversations with some of these entities right now, and hopefully we'll have other manufacturing. And we have a lot of space as for storage space here, and I feel like that we may benefit from that because we do have a lot of empty space for storage buildings and things like that. So I think this town is going to prosper, and it's in the Lord's will, and I just feel like part of why my wife and I came here was to try to help make a change, and I think it's happening.
Mayor, let me ask you another question. Early on, when there was talk about a medical marijuana facility coming to Cotton Plant, there was some controversy, and we know some of that came from some of our local churches. And I know you yourself are considered a Christian. How did you deal with some of those issues?
Well, initially, I'll just be honest with you. I wasn't for medical marijuana either. But as I educated myself about medical marijuana, initially my intent was not to vote for it. But as I did some research and found out how the structure of the medical marijuana industry was going to be regulated in Arkansas, and that it was going to be purely for medical purposes, not for recreational purposes, I decided to change my mind. And some of the things that medical marijuana is going to be able to do as far as helping people with medical conditions, it really kind of got to my heart because there are so many people that are suffering from cancer and PSTD, those kinds of conditions that are causing people to suffer. And medical marijuana have been proven that it will help these medical conditions. So therefore, I was swayed in the direction of trying to support it. And everybody that come to me asked me about whether the morality of marijuana. I said, well, marijuana now has a new use, and all medicines are plant derivatives. So I don't see a problem with medical marijuana as long as it's being used for good.
Let me ask you one other question. When you just answered when a person comes to you, response that you give them. Other issues were that Cotton Plant was not going to receive enough money. And I want to make a comment myself, and then I want you to chime in. We know early on, this was a point system. A bowl team could have selected anywhere in this county, and they would have still received the same points. And I think that needs to be spread abroad to our citizens.
Mm-hmm.
They could have selected anywhere in Woodruff County and still receive the same amount of points, but they chose Cotton Plant. So how do you feel as mayor in their final selection in choosing Cotton Plant, because they chose and found Cotton Plant?
Well, the key word is they found us. And I think that was because of one of the members of that particular organization, bowl team, had fond memories of Cotton Plant in the sense that his grandfather lived here and is buried here in the cemetery. So he had memories of it, and he had to convince his own team to utilize Cotton Plant as a means of selecting a site. And so I think it was important for this one individual because of his heritage. He wanted Cotton Plant to be able to prosper. He wanted to do something for Cotton Plant. And that's very honorable and very worthy of anyone who is trying to do something for Cotton Plant. We've tried all kinds of means of trying to find ways to try to boost up Cotton Plant and find industry that will come to Cotton Plant. But when you don't have really have anything to offer, no schools, no banks, no gas stations, basically, this town was dying on the vine. And for someone to think of Cotton Plant in that way, I think it was very honorable. And I'm very pleased that this group has decided to choose Cotton Plant to come and try to help this community grow again. And I think this is a turning point for this community. I think we're going to see growth like you won't believe. I know you got communities like Jonesboro and Conway that have been fast-track communities that have been growing. And people may think that what I'm getting ready to say is not going to happen, but I think Cotton Plant is going to be considered one of those communities as a fast-track community again, because during the turn of the century, 1800s, early 1900s, Cotton Plant was one of the fastest-growing communities in Arkansas, and I believe it will be again.
Absolutely. All right. I know I stated I had one other question, but my final question would be, we want to ask you a question. We hear that you are going to run for mayor again. Can you explain the importance of this medical marijuana growing facility coming to your community, and the importance of the leadership, whomever that might be, come election time?
Well, in a community, if you have, I think if you have positive momentum, and I think that's the key word, momentum, I think a change in leadership can offset or change the direction, or even could stop some of the momentum, positive direction that's taking place right now. So I think it's important and I am running again because, this mission for me is for 7 years. And in order for me to be able to accomplish the things that the Lord has given me, it's going to take another turn. So therefore I am running. I'm just honoring what the Lord has given me to do. And I believe that I will win. And I believe that the mission will continue. But the momentum has to continue. And the only way that's going to occur is that I get reelected.
All right. I want to say thank you, Mayor, for taking the time to visit with Cotton Plant Area Chamber of Commerce this morning. We know you've talked to New York Times and Arkansas Times and
yes,
all those other businesses, but we want you to visit with Cotton Plant Chamber of Commerce, because we think the voice that should be heard should be a local voice from a local standpoint. So thank you so much, Mayor Ryland.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I've been on the council for 2 years, and as far as the medical marijuana establishment is concerned, I think it's going to be a big boost for our city. I think it's going to bring some ancillary side businesses along with it. So I don't think it's just going, I think once the medical marijuana thing gets up and running, I think it's going to promote some interest for some more businesses in Cotton Plant. That's over the years is what's happened to us. We have no industry here at all. Our industry is farming, which it was while I was growing up here for the most part, but we did have a couple of little smaller industries here that generated some ability for people to find jobs if they weren't farm-related individuals. I think it's going to help us. I think it's going to help us real estate-wise. I think it's going to bring some money into the city, which is what our biggest problem is, having the money to do the things we want to do. And I think this, via sales tax and maybe some other things, is going to help us get a little bit of discretionary income that we can go out and work on our wish list. Right now we just do things basically on an emergency basis because that's the only thing we can fund. If we can get some discretionary funds in there, like I said, and get our wish list put together, this is what we'd like to do, and then take our priorities on our wish list and start getting those done. We need to get our arms around the city and stop the decay.
Absolutely. Let me ask one other question. One of the things the citizens are talking about here in Cotton Plant, are there going to be any jobs? And I'm not asking you the question, are there going to be any jobs? I want to say to you, this company may hire 1 or 2 people, and part of that has to do with the application packet. They had to have all of these positions pretty much already in place, and we understand why, because that process was a tough process. So my question to you, how do you feel with this medical marijuana facility coming to Cotton Plant? You talked about some other businesses, so we're going to see a ripple effect. So do we see any jobs from like dollar stores coming in, a grocery store possibly coming in, a bank possibly coming in? Do you think your citizens are prepared for those jobs that may come in from other businesses?
Well, I think the labor force has always been a little bit of an issue here because of the age of our citizens as much as anything. But yes, you know, I think this will bring some other interest in. I think the mayor has already I think he's had some nibbles from the dollar store already. We just need a few more people here to support some businesses. Just like you said, we need a grocery store. We could use a restaurant, you know, and I see that happen. It's not going to be an overnight thing. And in the other part of your question about the labor, when I spoke to the Bowl Group, when this thing was first getting started, and we talked about the labor and et cetera, and he told me then, he said, if I can get interest and I can qualify the people, there will be jobs. Now, he didn't tell me how many jobs, but, you know, 10 is good. And they'll be relatively good paying jobs, relatively good work atmosphere, and then again, you know, I see some spin-offs related, not necessarily grocery stores, that kind of thing. I see maybe some related businesses coming in related to the medical marijuana, maybe transportation, and then maybe this thing may go to another level at some point in time. I think it's going to be very productive for us. I mean, we've just been struggling for so long here with nothing. So I think I'm hoping that this is going to create a little excitement in our community, and maybe have some of the people in the community that kind of got beat down over the years kind of take some pride and start moving forward to, like I said, stop the decay, clean our city up, and make it where we'll all be proud of it again as we were some years ago.
Angela Rollins speaking with City Councilman Doyle Flannery. Thank you for your time, Doyle.
Thank you.